Hello. So this is your first geometry lesson of the year. And we're going to start out by talking about points, lines, and planes. So as the directions say here, points, lines, and planes are undefined terms, but we can describe what they are. And most of you know what a point and a line are, maybe not a plane, but you'll find that it's actually really pretty difficult to describe them. So you're going to take about 3 minutes on your own and try to describe those um, three things. And you're going to do that right over here. So sorry. You're going to do that here. Okay, and then discuss with your partner. We obviously don't have our partner at the moment, so you're going to do that on your own, and then you're going to come back. Okay, so welcome back. You should have paused and done that and then come back. So now we're going to do this as a class and actually do a description of each of these things. So a point, the best way to describe a point is that it's a location. A lot of people say like, oh, it's a dot. Well, that's true. When you graph something, it does look like a dot, but it's really a location on the graph. So it's a location. The notation for that is just a capital letter. So like on point here, you have your point, and then you'll notice a capital letter next to the point. So you just say capital A, and then in geometry, we know that that is a point with the letter A. So a line is the hardest one to describe. And so there's many ways to describe it, but sort of the most basic way is to say that it's a straight group of points and the important part about this is that it goes on forever. So it's infinite. Okay, and then up here, so a line will look something like that. And you're going to have points that are on the line to help you describe the line. So let's say this is point C and that's point D. So those 2 points would define this line that is drawn. The notation for that is you use those 2 points and then you put a line on top of them. That indicates you're talking about the line. Now, another way you see it sometimes is you'll see like this lowercase cursive letter on the end of the line. And so another way you can say that or define that line is line M or something of that nature. You'll see that a lot in geometry notation as well. So a plane, so the easiest way to describe a plane is that it's a flat surface. Okay, and then also, just like a line, it actually goes on forever. So a plane technically is infinite as well. Now, you can't just draw an infinite plane, like there's no way to do that. So we do draw it looking like a geometric shape, parallelogram usually. And so you just have to imagine that it goes on forever in all directions. We just don't draw little arrows all around it. So this represents a plane. And then generally, we are going to name a plane with 3 points that are on the plane. And then you literally just write those 3 points, no commas, no notation, no nothing. That is the name of the plane. Okay, sometimes you will see sort of a random letter in the corner without a point next to it. So sometimes you'll name it with just that letter in the corner, and you would just say plane Q. Okay, if at any time you need to pause, and then that would be fine. So just pause and then take a minute to write everything down. Next, collinear. So collinear points. You have to look at that prefix co. So when you think about like co-pilots are 2 pilots in the same plane. And we're talking about an airplane in that case. But collinear, you can use the same logic, is on the same linear, so on the same line. Okay, so if I have a picture down here, and then I have some points, you can have a whole bunch of points that are on the same line, and those would be considered collinear. So let's say I have D, E, and F. Those would be collinear points. On a quiz, you would list them out with commas between them. So it's a list of points like that. Because if you left the commas out, that actually would be plane notation. And that's something to keep in mind. Okay, coplanar. So we're still doing on the same, but this time planar. So this is going to be on the same plane. Okay, and then again, if we draw ourselves a plane, and then if we just list a whole lot of points here, and then label them, so let's just say this is A and B and C and D and E, those all would be coplanar points. And again, you would list them out with commas between. Okay, a couple of other things to keep in mind here. This is a little bit harder of a concept, but any 2 points are always collinear. So even if there's not a line drawn, they are still considered to be collinear because you could draw a line. So any 2 points are collinear. And any 3 points, so any 2 points, but also any 3 points are coplanar. That's a little bit harder of a concept. So any 3 points are coplanar. Okay, next, line segment. So a segment of a line is going to have, 2 endpoints and all points between. Now that word between in geometry implies collinear. Okay, so these are going to be collinear points. So this would be an example of a picture of a segment. So to name a segment, again, you use the letters on the segment, use the endpoints of the segment, and then you just put a bar. Notice there's no arrows. The order of the letters does not matter, so those would be naming the exact same segment. Array, easiest way to describe array is that it's half a line. Now I put half in quotes because a line is infinite. You can't really do half of infinity, but it's, just starting at a point and then going in one direction to infinity. Okay, so name of array, you want to use the endpoint first. So the endpoint in this case is K. So I'm going to say K, L, and then you're going to draw an arrow from the endpoint. So wrong ways to do that is to start with the L. Okay, that is wrong. That is not the correct name. Okay, and then the other wrong way would be drawing the arrow the other direction, like this. That is also wrong. So you start with the endpoint and then you draw the arrow across the to the other point through it. Okay, so part of your assignment tonight, we're going to skip these parts, and anything I circle in red here, that is part of your assignment. Okay, so this is going to be part of the assignment. These 6 questions. Okay, next. So this is a cloud level concept. We talked briefly about alien level concepts on one of, actually, that might be on the weekend. So anyway, we'll talk more about ground, cloud, and alien level concepts. but those are just sort of leveling out how hard the concept is. And cloud level is medium level. So this is a little bit harder than what we just did, but still very doable. Okay, so non-collinear. So it's exactly what it sounds like. They're just not on the same line. That's exactly what it sounds like. Okay, so when you do that, you have 2 points, and then you'd have another point off the line. So if I have A, and then I have B, and then C, which is not on the line, then those 3 points would be non-collinear. Non-coplanar, again, sounds exactly what it is. It's not on the same plane. Okay, so again, you have a couple of points here and here and here are 3 points. And then there's 1 point that's obviously not on the plane. So if you labeled these, so let's say that's D, E, F, and G, those would be non-collinear, or sorry, non-coplanar points. Okay, so this again, this part here would be part of your practice on your assignment. So these 4. Okay, the last piece, so if you want to stop right now, you can. The last couple of minutes of this video is optional. So you don't have to do the last part. So if you feel like you've had a challenge enough, you can just stop. If you feel like more of a challenge, then you can continue on. So these are optional concepts. So we're talking about intersections. So intersections is all common points. Okay, so when you're talking about 2 lines, there are several options. You can have 2 lines that actually intersect, and their intersection would be a point, so they share a common point. You can have 2 lines that are parallel, and then there is no intersection, or you'd say none. Or there is this other concept, which is really quite unique to geometry. So I'm going to draw a little box. And then there are lines that are not parallel. So, oops. So not parallel. So there's one line on top of the box. And then if you can imagine another line going out the bottom down here, they don't intersect, but they're not parallel. Those are called skew lines. And again, they would have none as an intersection. Okay, next, a line and a plane. So there are several ways those 2 can interact. You can have a line punching through the plane, and that would intersect at a point. And you can have a line that's basically parallel to there, and there would be no intersection there. And then lastly, you can have a line that's on the plane, and then they have every point on the line as a common point. So you would say the intersection is the line. Lastly, so 2 planes can be parallel, and then there's no intersection, or this is the hard one to draw. You have 2 planes that intersect, and their intersection is right here, and that actually goes on forever, so that intersects at a line. So those are all of your options for intersections. Okay, and if you would like to, you could do this as part of your practice. Those are optional though. Okay, so there's your introduction into geometry. See you soon.